Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Rokket Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for October 2024. I actually never did a Rokket update since Borreload Savage Dragon was banned. It was definitely a strong card for the deck, but still, it can function as the deck was meant to do with all the other summoning methods we have for the different Borreload dragons to be able to summon out using our many different Rokket monsters and also the additional dragon monsters that we run in the deck. Very, very happy with the changes made. Also, just for the different numbers for some of the monsters in the deck, keeping what I feel to be some of the better ones to use to summon out our many different monsters, along with the setup we have for our other Rokket cards as well. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the Rokket monsters, I would say the best Rokket monster we have in the whole deck is Rokket Tracer. Quick effect, you can target one face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon one Rokket monster from your deck, except for Rokket Tracer. Also, you cannot special summon from the X deck for the rest of the turn, except for Dark monsters. You can only use this effect of Rokket Tracer once per turn, but it's your go-to setup for a good majority of your plays for your Rokket Tracer being able to just give you that extra setup for your dragon monsters in the extra deck, and also the additional Rokket monsters that you have in your deck as well. You can even destroy Tracer itself if you wish to summon out that additional monster, but most of the time we do have other face-up cards that you can use for the destruction for Tracer. We're also running 2 copies of Magna Rokket Dragon. The Rokket monsters, in case you didn't know, have different effects. When a Link monster effect is activated that targets this card, you could destroy this card, then send one monster on the field to the graveyard. So the other Rokket monsters share in these card effects when they're targeted, being able to destroy themselves and gain the additional card effect. And also, at the end of the turn, if it was destroyed on the field by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Rokket monster from your deck, except for the Rokket monster that was on the field for the destruction. So then you can summon out another Rokket monster aside from Magna Rokket to the field. Being able to send a monster is why I run 2 Magna Rokket, just one of the better cards to get around cards that can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, since Magna Rokket just sends that card to the graveyard, doesn't destroy it. Also 2 copies of Rokket Caliber. You can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Dark Link monster points to. You can only special summon Caliber once per turn this way. You can tribute this card to special summon one Dark Dragon or Machine monster from your hand, except for Rokket Caliber. So just extending more of your plays, setting up other Rokket monsters in your graveyard for you also just to be able to summon back onto the field with our Boot Sector launch, which can be searched out with our Striker Dragon. So more and more setup for those cards also. And then for the one-ofs for our Rokket monsters, running the 1 copy of Auto Rokket Dragon, same as Magna Rokket, just instead it sends a spell or trap on the field of the graveyard. The 1 Metal Rokket being able to destroy columns, our Shell Rokket adjacent spots on the field to that column. The Anise Rokket being able to stop additional card effects for monsters and stop a monster from battling. And also the 1 copy of Silver Rokket. When a Link monster effect is activated that targets a face-up card on the field, you can destroy this card, look at your opponent's extra deck, and banish 1 card from it, so it takes away extra deck resources for your opponent. And then lastly, for the Rokket monsters, the 1 copy of Rokket Recharger. With this card, if a dark monster you control with special summon from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, target one of those destroyed monsters, and special summon 1 dark monster from your graveyard with a different original name from that target, giving you more or less, as the card says, a recharge of another monster onto the field for you to use. I just feel like you need one-ofs for these. You can summon a good majority of them off of cards like your Magna Rokket or your Rokket Tracer. So depending on the specific target you need, I feel that's all you would have to go for these additional Rokket monsters. And then they can also just be summoned back with Boot Sector launch once they're set up in your graveyard to begin with also. We're also running 3 copies of Noctovision Dragon. When your opponent activates a card effect that targets a face-down card you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate that effect. But the main play with this card is if a Dark Dragon monster is special summoned to your field, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if it's sent to the graveyard as Link material, draw 1 card. So you special summon big resource dragon on the field, and then additional draw power when you use it for the majority of your major plays in the deck also. We're also running 2 copies of Router Dragon. I'm always going back and forth between 2 or 3 copies of this card. If you control a Rokket monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. But the big play with this card, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Rokket monster from your deck to your hand. So having a send effect means we can use cards like our Dragon Shrine to be able to send Router and then just grab the search for the specific one-ofs for the Rokket monsters that I also have. It's just another special summon resource as well, but it doesn't have Rokket in its name, so it doesn't have some of these search options like some of the other cards as well. We just have to have have it being open in our hand, which some other dragons help with that play setup also. I also run the 1 copy of Double Disruptor Dragon. You contribute this card, target 2 rocket monsters in your graveyard with different names, special summon them defense, and you could banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 rapid trigger or 1 heavy interlock from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So the big play with this card is once again just like Apps Router, setting it up in the graveyard for you then to be able to banish it to either add your ritual spell or your fusion spell that you need for whichever one of the plays you want to go for also. I also run 1 copy of Collapse Serpent and the 1 copy of Wyver Buster for banish options with both of these monsters to give you more and more dragon resources. The big one for the banish is obviously using Wyver Buster to then banish one of your dragon dark attribute monsters in the graveyard, send it to the graveyard off of a link play, and then search the Collapse Serpent to then banish the Wyver Buster. And also for the dragon monsters, a small Bysteel Engine, the 1 Baldric, the 1 Magnemite, and the 1 Druis Worm. These are just kind of extenders in the deck. You have a search with Magnemite, you have the special summon send resource off of Druis Worm, and then the shuffle back option with Baldric. But once again, they're just meant to more extend the plays if you have plenty of your dragon monsters in the graveyard to be able to banish and then get you 1 more dragon body on the field. I also run the 1 copy of Chaos Dragon Levianeer and the 1 Destrudo to finish off the main deck as well for the monster count for the main deck effect monsters, with Levianeer having another banish option, destruction, shuffle back power, or special summon power depending on what you banish, and Destrudo being another send to the graveyard option to then pay half your life points to special summon this resource back into the field. The last of our monsters for the main deck being our ritual monster, Borreload Riot Dragon. Like I said, I wanted to use as many of the Borrel monsters that I could for the deck, with it being the main focus for the Rokket setup. A level 8 ritual monster, you can ritual summon this card with Heavy Interlock. When your opponent special summons a monster, quick effect, you can negate the special summon, and if you do, destroy that monster. Then destroy this card or 1 Rokket monster you control. If this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 Borrel or Rokket monster in your graveyard, destroy 1 card you control in your hand. If you do, add that target to your hand. So add back power, but also just a destruction option, and negating a special summon by destroying that monster as well. It's an easy ritual summon setup if you can get the search for your ritual spell, and then just having this resource to be able to go into as well with your additional dragon monster. For the spells, 3 copies of Quick Launch. Once again, going back to just why I run the one-ofs for the Rokket monsters. Quick Launch just special summons a Rokket monster from your deck but cannot attack and destroy it during the end phase. So you can either grab your Rokket Tracer, or if you already have your Rokket Tracer, grab an additional Rokket monster to be able to target for the Rokket Tracer to destroy, giving you another special summon, and then that Rokket monster's destruction effect at the end of the turn. We're also running 3 copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. This just grabs more resources back from the graveyard. When it's activated, you can target a level 4 lower dragon monster in your graveyard, add to your hand, or special summon it. So with this, you can also have a face-up card on the field to potentially destroy with Rokket Tracer to give you another special summon, but also being able to take 1 dragon monster you control and move that monster to another open main monster zone, so you can adjust your link arrows on the field, because some of the Rokket monsters do have varying arrows where they could be, so some of them could be beneficial for the setup of more and more link summons on the field as well. I also run 2 copies of Dragon Shrine just to send dragon monsters to the graveyard. If you want to replace one of these with a Foolish Burial, so you could potentially open up both copies and have 2 sends in one turn, you could do that. Since Dragon Shrine is a once per turn, it's player preference with that play though. And for the one-ofs for the rest of the spells, 1 copy of Boot Sector Launch. This card can be searched off of Striker Dragon, that's why we're only running the 1 copy. The 1 Squib Draw, additional draw power depending on the destruction of our Rokket monster to give us 2 draws into our hand. The 1 Heavy Interlock for the Ritual Summon play, along with the 1 Rapid Trigger for the Fusion Summon play, which is cool with both of these cards is also you destroy Rokket monsters for either the Fusion Summon or the Ritual play, so you'll get the benefit of those Rokket monsters as well. And lastly, 1 Monster Reborn, just an additional monster special summon resource, getting around some of the restrictions that World Legacy Guard Dragon has, but being able just to summon out a bigger boss monster back from the graveyard also. Don't run any traps in the deck. This is a big setup combo deck where you want to get big boss monsters on the field. I just felt traps slowed it down. If you wanted to try infinite impermanence, you could cut some of your dragon number counts, but still, that's just my opinion going off of what you want to run for the main deck. For the extra deck, we are running the 1 copy of Borreload Dragon, the 1 copy of Borrel Sword, and the 1 copy of Borrel Guard, having all 3 of of the link options with a more defensive option with Boral Guard, more offensive option with Boral Sword, and a more balanced option with Boral Load. You have all three to be able to go into, needing 3 or more effect monsters for each one, but a 3,000 attack point monster with each one as well. Extra destruction power for card effects with Boral Guard, destroy by battle with Boral Sword, and then not being able to target with monster effects for Boral Lord. I can only keep my words together for so long with these monsters, but still, you have all three available to you depending on which one you want to go into. Our bigger boss monster is our Link 5 Boral End Dragon. Needing 3 or more effect monsters, you can summon this card out with your added resources and just a bigger boss monster, since it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, being more of a combination of all the other Boral monsters that we had so far, and having more of an additional option to target an effect monster and 1 rocket monster in your graveyard, negate the effects of the monster on the field, and then special summon that resource back from our graveyard. Also, the 1 copy of Striker Dragon for the search for Boot Sector launch, just needing a level 4 lower dragon monster, so even some of our other generic dragons could be able to go into it. The 1 Quad Boral for more destruction special summon options, and also the 1 Booster Dragon for special summon resources, and another Link 2 option to use for our rocket monsters. The 1 Triple Burst Dragon as a Link 3 better battle suited option for our dragon monsters, and for the other generic links, 2 copies of Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, and the 1 Saryuja. Sometimes with the Rokket Tracer, we are locked out of these summons, but we can go for the more generic, dragon link summon setup. These cards are very, very handy for their bounce back power, their special summon resources, and you name it, just the genericness that these cards can provide into the deck. I chose them over the top of Logic monsters just to stick to more of the dragon lineup that we can go for. For our synchro monsters, I have 1 copy of Quibelt Blade Dragon and 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, because once again, Borreload Savage Dragon is sadly banned for us to be able to use, but you have your level 3 option to use with your Rokket Tracer for the Quibelt, and then just the 2 level 4 options for our Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, with the rest of the extra deck monsters being 1 X-Charge Dragon, giving you back Link 4 resources from the graveyard is why I like this card, and Borreload Furious Dragon, just needing the option of 2 Dark Dragon effect monsters to target a monster you control and 1 your opponent controls and destroy them, and being able to banish this card from your graveyard to once again target a Dragon Link in your graveyard and special summon it. So both of these can just give you back your Link Dragon resources that you initially went into from before. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, with your setup with your dragon monsters, you have a wide variety of what you can do. But if you, let's say you just have the Rokket Tracer and the Quick Launch in your hand, so what you can do with these plays, you can summon out the Rokket Tracer. You can then go for the initial Link 1, or you can wait to do the Link 1 play and start off with activating your Quick Launch for that play, and then being able to use the effect of Rokket Tracer as a chain, targeting 1 face-up card you control, which would be the Quick Launch on the field, destroying that card, and then if you do special summon 1 Rocket monster from your deck, so the chain link will resolve backwards, destroying your Quick Launch, giving you the special summon of a Rocket monster from your deck onto the field. So then you can just take your Rocket monster of choice to summon out onto the field, and then the Quick Launch will special summon out your additional Rocket monster. From there, you have your 3 resources ready to go, but then also you can go for the Link 1 play, being able to summon out your go-to Striker Dragon on the field, and with that, you will have the search for your next summon card, which is your Boot Sector launch. Being able then to activate this card, this will determine what else you may have in your hand. You have your 2 Rocket monsters additionally, along with your Link 1 on the field. So you could go for the overlay play and go into your Borreload X-Charge Dragon, but you don't have a big Link monster in your graveyard, so I'd refrain from going into this one. You do have the level 8 Synchro play, which you could go into, going into your 2 monsters to give you an additional dragon on the field, setting up more dragons in your graveyard, which I would say this is most beneficial because the Boot Sector launch has 2 options for special summoning monsters. You can either summon out the Rocket monsters, different names from your hand in defense, or if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, summon a Rocket monster, different names from your graveyard. So if your opponent has 4 monsters on the field to your 2, or you could even, reduce those numbers by using the Synchro monster and your Striker Dragon to go into 1 additional monster on the field. You can then reduce it if your opponent, let's say, has 3 monsters. You can then activate the Boot Sector launch, summoning back your 2 Rocket monsters from the graveyard as well, and then use those monsters to be able to get out, and using your 3 effect monsters on the field, your Borreload monster of choice. So then you can choose which one of the 3 you want to summon out onto the field with this play. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, I always love updating the Rokket deck just with all the different Borreload monsters. It's a very, very fun dragon deck to play if you don't want to use just pure Dragon Link. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.